Oh, really?
Vampire! We take your candy!
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula. And I bid you welcome, Mr. Hunt, to my house. Come in.
Our first award goes to the vampire for most blood drained in a single evening.
The strength of the vampire is that people will not believe in him.
Good evening, YouTube. I can't believe it, but it's been a week. I know I say that every week, but I just can't believe how quickly time is flying. So if you haven't noticed, we have a little bit of a new angle because, like I said, in the last one, the tripod failed on me. So we have a new tripod. If you like the new angle, let me know. If you hate the new angle, let me know. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but you can certainly let me know. Okay, the dog is at my feet. She has gone outside. She has a bone. The cat is sleeping upstairs, so are the children. The air conditioning heating unit is turned off. So hopefully we can get through this. I guess we'll find out. And if you haven't been able to notice, I did fix the focusing issue. So thank you to everyone who let me know. Why don't we go ahead and do this? I will tell you what my vampire tea is in just a second. Oh, I forgot to check my mic. Oh, we better do that. Record the whole thing and find out it didn't work. Good evening, my fellow vampire lovers. Hopefully there's no issues. Let's find out. Good evening. Okay, thank God. All right, I think we are ready to do this. These allergies are killing me. I don't know if I like this new angle. Let me know. We'll find out. Whatever. Let's do this. Good evening, my fellow vampire lovers. The sun is going down, and you know what that means. It's time for me to record another episode of my podcast, The Beautiful Dead. As always, I'm your host, Lena Nazari. You can find me by going to lenanazari.com. You can see links to my social media, ways to email me, or you can just email me. That's lena@lenanazari.com. DM me, send me a contact form, join my fanged family, join my street team, whatever. So, you guys all know this by now. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. But if you're not, you've already heard all of this a million times. All right, the third book. So I'm recording this early, but I feel like I'm about to hear a release date like any second. So I will either insert the release date here. If there's nothing there, it's because I don't have a release date. That's for the YouTube people, podcast listeners. If I don't have a release date, then I don't know, maybe the next video. Or you can just do the smart thing, which is follow me on my social media or join my fanged family because they hear everything right away. The street team hears before anybody. So if you want swag and you want to know everything before everybody else, then join my street team. But if you don't like commitment, I understand it. Just join my fanged family and then you can just get emails from me. My next appearance is June 1st. I'm gearing up for that. I've already ordered all my books. I've started inventorying all my things, and it looks like the third book is gonna be on the table in Philly. I don't want to make any promises, but it's looking like they're gonna be there, so that's really exciting. When I started this, I thought there was no way that those books were gonna be on that table, but hey, I guess if you never sleep and you put your mind to anything, dreams can happen. All right. And then the next one will be Pittsburgh in August. And then I know I keep saying this, but I promise I'm looking at something in September. I'm looking at something in December. And the second it is solidified, I will let you know. Okay, moving on. Oh, guys, TikTok is hopping. If you're not on TikTok, come check me out. I do random vampire facts, although it's getting pretty tough. I'm at like 110. And it's getting tough to find things that are interesting that people don't know about. So join me on TikTok, and you'll see I'm gonna have to come up with a new series. So you'll get to see what my new series is gonna be. I have an idea, but I don't want to say anything until I know it's gonna work. Let's do this. Okay, so this one has, oh, my vampire tea. Okay, so I wanted to do one that I hadn't tried yet, because I do keep going back to a couple that I really, really like. But I was like, oh, I gotta pick one I haven't opened yet. So I did, and boy, am I glad I did. So this one is London After Midnight, and it is green tea with a pear and orange, and I have already been sipping on it, and oh man, it is so refreshing. It's a little warm outside. I'm draining the pool. It's starting to feel a little bit like summer is around the corner, and this tea is perfect for it. It's so refreshing. It reminds me a little bit of like a cold fruit salad. I love it. All right. And low in caffeine. And let me tell you, this girl does not need more caffeine. Guys, if you're on YouTube, you're going to see the bags under my eyes. Wow. If you know a trick for bags under eyes, please comment and let me know. I'm kind of willing to do anything at this point. The blood of the innocent, I really don't like to do that, but if it works, it'll work, then let me know. Okay. Spoiler alert, if you've never listened to this podcast or watched this channel, I do ruin everything. So this is really for people who have seen it or really don't want to watch it. They just want to hear me talk about it, which I do that too. There are some things like the disturbing movies. I'm like, I kind of want to watch snippets and hear people talk about it, but I don't want to watch the whole hour and a half. So I won't judge you if that's what you do. This one, I am ashamed to say I have never sat down to watch, even though I know it's one of those that any vampire expert film lover is supposed to have already seen, and it has been on my watch list for a really long time. But I don't know about you guys, I have this bad habit of like rewatching the same 10 things, like comfort shows and movies. Okay, so it's okay because now I have watched it, so now I can say I've watched it. And we are talking about the 1992 Cronos. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, this is from Guillermo del Toro, who is now obviously very famous and award-winning, but not back when he did this. It is in Spanish. So for those of us who took Spanish in high school, bits of it will come back to you, I promise. I was able to look away a few times and still understand what they were saying. For those of you who don't know Spanish or just let it go out of your head, it's fine. There's subtitles, and it's not like it's so fast or there's so much action that you struggle to read and watch, because some movies are like that. This one is perfect if you're somebody who sometimes struggles with English subtitles. This is a nice movie to watch. Summary. Let's do this. In the year 1536, an alchemist in Veracruz, develops a mechanism that can give eternal life. I apologize for any pronunciations. I'm going to try not to fall back into my terrible Spanish accent from high school Spanish, but I can't promise anything, okay? In 1937, an old building collapses, and the alchemist, who has marble white skin, is killed when his heart is pierced by debris. Investigators go to search the home of the alchemist, but never reveal what else was discovered in the home, which is basins filled with blood from a corpse. In 1996, an old, somewhat religious antique dealer, Jesus Grease, notices the base of an archangel statue is hollow. He opens it and finds a 450-year-old mechanical object. After he winds the ornate scarab-shaped device, it unfurls spider-like legs which grip him tightly and inserts a needle into his skin, which injects him with an unidentified solution. An insect entombed within the device and meshed into the internal clockwork produces the solution. Grease eventually discovers his health and vigor are returning, as is his youth. His skin loses its wrinkles, his hair thickens, his sexual appetite increases, but he also develops a thirst for blood. At first, this disgusts him, but he eventually succumbs to the temptation. He then uses the device later that night, but says his nightly prayers as he does. All right, no judgment. His granddaughter Aurora notices this and begins to worry about Grease? We're going to go with Grease. Meanwhile, a rich, dying businessman, Dieter de la Guardia, who has been amassing information about the device for many years, has been searching for the archangel statue with the Cronos device. He has appropriated several archangels already. He sends his thuggish American nephew Angel, who suffers his uncle's abuse on a daily basis for an inheritance, P.S. that never works out well, to purchase the archangel at the antique shop. During a New Year's Eve party, Grease sees a man bleeding from his nose and follows him into the men's room and waits for a chance to get the blood off the sink countertop. Anyone who has seen this scene is vividly picturing it. Another man comes out of the stalls, sees the blood, and cleans it up. Grease notices blood on the floor and decides to lick it up until an unknown man walks in and kicks him in the face, which knocks him unconscious. Grease appears to be asleep in Angel's car, and Angel gives him some alcohol and then tries to beat him into giving up the device. When Grease faints, Angel places the body inside a car and pushes it off the cliff. Grease briefly awakens and prays for survival but seemingly dies. He later revives in the Undertaker's establishment and escapes before he can be cremated. He returns to his home where Aurora lets him in. Dieter beats Angel for not ensuring Grease's heart was destroyed and sends him to check on the body. Grease works on a letter to his wife in which he comments on the changes in his body and tells him after completing some unfinished business he will return to her later. He notices his skin burns in the presence of sunlight, ruh-roh, and sleeps in a box to avoid it. Eventually, he and Aurora bring the device to Dieter's headquarters, where the businessman offers him a way out in exchange for the device. Grease comments on his damaged skin, and the businessman tells him to peel it off because he has new skin underneath, which is the marble white like the dead alchemist. Grease threatens to destroy the device, but is told that when he dies, that he will die should that happen. So if he destroys the device, he dies. Grease agrees to hand it over in exchange for knowing the way out, whereupon Dieter stabs him. Before being able to strike the killing blow to the chest, Dieter is incapacitated by Aurora, and Grease feeds on Dieter. Angel finds the dying Dieter and crushes his throat with his foot, tired of being abused and waiting for his inheritance. Angel confronts Grease on the rooftop of the building and beats him severely. Grease throws them both off of the roof, killing Angel. Aurora finds Grease unconscious and uses the device to wake him. Noticing that her hand is bleeding, Grease is tempted to feed off his granddaughter but eventually controls himself. Then he painfully destroys the device despite previous warnings. Surprised to still be alive, he believes that God has saved him because of his attempted self-sacrifice. He returns to his home and lies in bed with Aurora and his wife, waiting for the sun to rise to see if the effects of the device are gone. So, that is Cronos. Ooh, if you just heard my belly rumbling, sorry. I don't know how good this mic is. Okay, so we do have some vampire crossovers. The what they call him, thuggish American nephew, is played by Ron Perlman. I'm sure anybody who watches horror knows Ron Perlman, and he plays Reinhardt in Blade 2. So Reinhardt is the one that Blade puts the device in the back of his head so that if he starts to misbehave, he gets blown up. And then, of course, the writer and director of this movie is Guillermo del Toro, who also wrote The Strain, which, yes, that is on my list, I promise. Trivia. When Guillermo del Toro showed this to some uppity up in Mexico Academy of Film, they told him no one will watch it, it will never win awards. He wrote that in his diary and then proceeded to make this guy eat his words because it has won 23 awards and garnered many, many more nominations. So good for you, Guillermo. Man, I need to have that attitude. Like whenever somebody tells me it's not going to happen, you're wasting your time, you're never going to make it, I'm going to break that down in my diary and then I'm going to make them eat their words. All right, let's break down our vampires. Oh man, I really do look as tired as I feel. Relationships to humans. So the De La Guardias know about this device and they know that it gives you eternal life and they know that Jesus has it. Other than those two, it doesn't seem like any other humans know about the possibility of this device creating vampires or the existence of vampires. And nobody seems to know that Jesus is one. Nobody seems to question that he suddenly looks younger and that he's more vital. And okay, the wife seems very happy about it. Since they look human, there's no problem with this type of vampire walking amongst humans. Appearance. As explained, when the device first punctures you and injects you with this serum or whatever it is, you start to look younger, like age has been repaired, you become more vital, and then I think what has happened is because he then died and came back, now he's like full turned, and that's why suddenly he can't be in the sun. And like we said, at that point in time, you peel your old human skin off. Uh-oh, we've got focus issues again. Why? I thought I fixed it. And underneath is this like white marble-like looking skin. It reminds me very much of what Dracula looked like in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Kind of like that. Fangs. Sad to say, these vampires don't have fangs. Guillermo, I know you're award-winning and all that, but let's have lunch and talk. Blood, yes. As the progression happens, he does start to crave and need the blood. This male's bathroom scene that I talked about is memorable. So when people talk about Cronos, a lot of them mention that bathroom scene. I don't think I'll ever, and I'm a nurse, I see him all the time, I'll never look at a nosebleed the same. I'll just say that. Ooh, licking, let me tell you, he goes to town licking that blood off that bathroom floor. The bloodlust has got to be bad to be licking up off a bathroom floor, so. Food. We never see him eat or drink once the transformation begins, so I don't know if that's because he doesn't anymore or it's just not in the film, but we never see that happen. Sunlight. So I talked about this too. Once the transformation is complete, after he's died and come back, which reminds me a little bit of the Vampire Diaries, then he cannot be in the sunlight anymore. And that's where he knows, like, oh, I messed up. I've messed up. Sleep. So after he realizes he can no longer be in the sun, that's when he starts sleeping in the box, which is very reminiscent of, like, sleeping in a coffin. So he starts sleeping in a box. I mean, you do what you gotta do, right? Holy items. He has no issues with holy items. In fact, he does pray. So because this type of vampirism appears to be an actual change in your biology because of something injected into you, it's like a mutation, it would make sense that holy items are not an issue for this vampire because it's a genetic mutation. It's a change to the human body as opposed to like a religious issue. Rules. There wasn't too much to address here. He walks into whatever house he wants to. He is seen in mirrors. So I guess there's no like quote unquote rules that these vampires need to live by. powers other than getting younger and more vital and possibly having eternal life, healing very quickly and being very hard to kill. He doesn't necessarily have special powers. It's not like he suddenly is extra strong, extra fast, extra agile. You know, the scene at the end on top of the rooftop, he is fighting just like any human would be fighting. And what they don't mention in the summary is the reason he throws himself and Angel off the rooftop is to save his granddaughter, because his granddaughter is there. So if he could do something special, trust me, he would have. And he can't like control minds or anything like that. How are they made? Okay, step 1, find the Cronos. Step 2, put it against your flesh. So first it's his hand, then it's his chest, so it has to be against your flesh. Then these spider legs come out, they pierce you, they latch on, and then you're injected with something from this bug that now starts the transformation. Obviously we don't know. The scarab makes me think like Egyptian, but like I said, it was created by an alchemist, so I don't know. Boom. Now you're a vampire. Easy. How do they die? 2 things. So, destroying the Cronos device destroys the vampire. Also destroying the heart, as we see done with the alchemist. And that's why Dieter's so pissed at his nephew, because he's like, you didn't make sure the heart was destroyed, you dumbass. So, obviously that's what you need to do. Do their hearts beat and do they breathe? I'm going to say no, because he's thrown on a mortician's table, and then he comes back and he like scrambles out of the coffin. So I would assume, unless he stopped, the heart stopped beating and he stopped breathing, like in that transition period from when he died as a infected human and then arose as full vampire, maybe then the heart starts up again. I don't know, but it's never mentioned. Are they good or are they bad? So like so many that we have talked about, vampirism doesn't change who you are at your core, right? So Jesus was still a good person who just needed some blood. And I'm pretty sure if Dieter or Angel had gotten a hold of that Cronos, they would have been horrible vampires. So you are who you are. The device is not going to change who you are. Jesus, like I said, everything he does is for his wife and especially for his granddaughter. Being a vampire does not change that. Tropes I love and tropes I hate. Tropes I love, we don't see this one too often, is when vampires are mistaken for dead bodies and then just like arise in the mortician's office. Now, it's even funnier when they scare somebody, but in this, he's like, the coffin's ready to roll in to be burned. And this mortician's assistant is played like kind of like, he's got music on, he's chewing gum, he seems sort of like oblivious. He seems happy at his job, which good for you, but a little bit oblivious. So as his back is turned, the lid goes up, you know, your dead body is gone, and then he just sends that baby in to be burned. Tropes I hate. You know me well enough to know what I'm about to say. And again, Guillermo, with all due respect, vampire creator to vampire creator, I hate when vampires don't have fangs. I hate it. A vampire biting with human teeth, can't stand it. Can't. And now we never see him like bite. He's always like licking up blood or getting a hold of it wherever he can. But eventually he was going to have to bite into somebody. Although the alchemists seem to be hanging humans upside down and slicing throats and then catching the blood. So, I mean, that's always an option too. But that's why fangs are so handy, right? Okay, moving on. I mean, I would rather you... I don't know. How much do I hate this trope? I would rather you sparkle in the sun and have fangs than not have fangs. And that's saying something. All right, we're going to move on. Let's do the ratings. Whoa, we're breezing right through this. Oh, I shouldn't have said that out loud. I just cursed us, didn't I? We'll see. How scary or evil is the vampire in Cronos? I'm just going to say it. The vampire's not scary. For Pete's sake, he's somebody's grandpa or pap or whatever. He just wants to dance with his wife and run his shop and raise his granddaughter. He's not super strong. He's not fast. He is eventually bound by the sun. He doesn't have any powers. He sacrifices himself first opportunity. Like the first time he's in a pinch, he's like, nope, I'll just kill myself. I'm not going to put anybody else in danger. He does need blood, and there is no telling how far eventually he would go to get that blood. We see what happened with the alchemist. So we'd like to think, oh, you know, Poppy's never going to kill somebody, but I mean, I guess if you're thirsty enough to lick blood off a bathroom floor within a couple days, I think it's like the first or second day that he does that. Imagine a couple weeks of bloodlust, what would you be doing? So we are going to go ahead and give him 1 out of 10 stakes to the heart for scariness and evil, because eventually that bloodlust is going to need to be sated. Other than that, he's not scary. He's somebody's Poppy. Come on. All right. How sexy or alluring is the vampire of Cronos? So I have to be fair. I have created this rule myself, so I have to stick by it. He gets the honorary vamp point, you know. I can't take that back now. He does start to lose the physical signs of age, as well as get his libido back. I mean, he gives his wife that look, and you know that look I'm talking about. He gives her that look, and she like gets all flustered, and she looks miserable. And then her hot husband comes down the stairs and gives her that look, and everything just changes. So I'm going to give him another point for being horny. But that's it. So he doesn't have like any kind of special pull to humans. He's not having women like walk up to him. His eyes are only for his wife. And once he dies, I mean, the man starts rotting. So, Grandpa Grease, you get 2 out of 10 onks for sexiness and allure. And yes, that is a low score, but I want you to look on the bright side. According to the ratings, you are sexier than you are scary. So if that's what you were going for, you nailed it. Okay, my thoughts. I'm gonna say it again. Guillermo del Toro will never watch this, but I am so ashamed that I waited this long to watch this. I have watched some stinkers. I have watched the same movie 20 times, and it's a shame that I waited this long to get this into my noggin and into my repertoire. But I have done it. I've been told so many times to watch this movie. I mean, time and time and time again. I hated telling people I haven't seen it, but the one thing I love about this podcast is discovering or finally watching these movies, because they're on my list, right? But who knows, without this podcast, would I have ever sat down to watch it? I don't know. But now I have, and I'm so glad I have. We all know that Guillermo is a genius. He's very, very good with horror. It is hard to make horror beautiful, but he does that. Anyone who has seen Pan's Labyrinth knows visually what he does with things that are horrific. With this one, he tells this beautiful story of a grandpa and a granddaughter. In an interview, he said it was an ode to one of his own grandparents, and you can definitely tell that when you're watching this. The relationship between the man and his granddaughter is absolutely at the core of this story. This is what the story is about. I teared up at a few parts. You know, I always say my books are not so much about vampires, but about what women will do for their family. No matter what is thrown in front of you, you will figure it out, and you will do whatever you have to for the people you love. And that's what this is about as well. That was the whole point of this. I really rooted for him. I like to pretend that in the end everything is okay. You know, it's him lying in bed with his wife and his granddaughter, and the sun is coming up, so we don't get to see if he lives or dies. When the camera stopped rolling, I like to pretend the sun did not burn him and he was healed and God rewarded him for his sacrifice. It's not likely, but that's what I like to believe. So that's what we're gonna take into the rest of our lives, is that Grandpa was fine and he danced at Aurora's wedding and loved his wife and all that beautiful stuff. If you're a vampire fan who is sick of the same couple of plots, this is one to add to your watch list. And before you ask, yes, The Strain is on my list. I swear I'm going to do it. I have been told by so many people. One of them is a well-respected person in horror. Like, you have to watch The Strain. I promise I will. I promise, I promise. I started it. It was too close to the pandemic and everything I was going through as a nurse through the pandemic. It was too hard to watch because the first couple episodes feel very much like a pandemic, and I had to turn it off, and I will go back to it, I promise, when I'm ready to deal with another epidemic. Okay, so next week, we're going to stick with a theme of watching movies that I know I have to watch. This is another one that comes up on, if you look at, top 10 vampire movies that you must watch, Cronos is on there, and so is this one. And this one is called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It is another foreign film. I'm so excited to watch it. It has been on my list for a very, very long time. It was one of the first ones I wrote down when I made my list starting this podcast 3 years ago. So I will finally sit down and watch it. I will be watching it on Prime, but I believe it is also on Pluto TV. It's one of those ones that you can download for free, but you have to suffer through commercials. I don't have time for all that, so I'm just going to pay for it on Prime, and that's how I will be watching it. Hopefully, if I don't have a release date to put on this video or for you guys, and those of you listening to the podcast, you might just have to jump over to YouTube and just watch the part where I talk about the book if you need a release date. If I don't have one on this video by the time you watch it, I was so close. I was just about to wrap it up and the camera stopped recording because we hit 30 minutes. So you're gonna see like a little bit of a splice here, but whatever, that's fine. And obviously I will erase this out of the podcast. Anywho, wrapping it up. Can't wait to see whoever's going to be in Philadelphia in June. In the meantime, I hope all of you are happy and healthy. And please, if you have some kind of remedy for bags under eyes, man, please share it with me. I beg ya. All right, I'm going to enjoy my cup of vampire tea here and start my editing. I love you all. I wish you all wicked hugs and bloody kisses. Good evening. And I'm saying the same thing to you guys. Goodbye. I love you, but I have a lot of editing to do. And then I think I'll make a second cup of this tea because, geez, again, London after midnight. I don't know, because it was like, I expected it to be a dark tea. So when I read the back, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, very good. I'm going to go make another one. Maybe get myself a little snack and do some editing. So I love you guys, but good night. And stay safe and out of trouble. I don't know.